Photosynthesis is how plants make their food to be able to function. The light energy from the sun is obtained by the plant and is converted into chemical energy for all the stages of photosynthesis to be carried out. The first phase of photosynthesis is the light-dependent reactions. This is where the chloroplasts capture the light energy and the thylakoids inside the chloroplasts absorb the pigments from the light. One pigment is called chlorophyll, which is a green pigment. There are two types of chlorophyll A and B. Other pigments are also absorbed into the plant. The thylakoids expedite electron transport. The thylakoids have a large surface area to be able to hold many electrons. Also, they are able to hold the photosystems that are used in light reactions. Next is chemiosmosis. This is the process by which ATP is produced. In chemiosmosis, water is broken down because it initiates electron transport, and it also provides the H+ protons that drive the ATP synthesis. Next is the Calvin cycle. This is the second phase of photosynthesis that is light-dependent. The first step of the Calvin cycle is carbon fixation. This is where the 6 CO2 molecules combine with the 5 carbon compounds to form 12 3-carbon molecules. The second step of the Calvin cycle is where the energy in ATP and NADPH is transferred to the 3 PGA molecules to form G3P. In the third step, 2 G3P molecules leave the cycle for the making of other organic compounds. In the last step of the Calvin cycle, rubisco, which is an enzyme, converts the 10 G3P molecules into 5 carbon molecules called RuBP. Cellular respiration is how organisms obtain energy. The process of cellular respiration harvests electrons from the carbon compounds to make ATP. The equation for cellular respiration is the opposite as photosynthesis. It is as follows: glucose plus oxygen plus carbon dioxide plus water and energy. Cellular respiration occurs in two phases. The first phase is glycolysis. Glycolysis is an anaerobic process. In glycolysis, 2 ATP molecules and 2 NADH are formed with each glucose molecule that is broken down. Then the phosphate groups are joined with glucose. Then the 6 C molecules is broken down into 2 3-C molecules. Then 2 phosphates are added and electrons and H+ ions combine with 2 NAD+ molecules to form 2 NADH. Then the 3C compounds are converted into 2 pyruvate molecules. Then ATP molecules are produced. After glycolysis, there is the Krebs cycle. In this cycle, pyruvate is broken down into CO2. There are 3 main steps to the Krebs cycle. The first step is acetyl-CoA combines with 4 carbon compounds that is formed to a 6 carbon compound that is citric acid. Next, the citric acid is broken down and releases 2 molecules of CO2 and ATP. Also, NADH and 1 FADH2. Lastly, acetyl-CoA and citric acid are generated and the cycle starts over. After the Krebs cycle is electron transport. This is the last step in the breakdown of glucose. As the electrons move in the mitochondrial matrix through proteins, NADH and FAD and H+ ions start chemiosmosis. Oxygen is the last acceptor of the electrons, and then protons and electrons are transferred to make H2O. For some cells, they can function with low energy levels. Their cellular respiration is quite different. This anaerobic respiration process is called fermentation. There are 2 types of fermentation: alcohol fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. Fermentation mainly relies on glycolysis for energy. Photosynthesis and cellular respiration are both metabolic processes that form and break down carbohydrates. Photosynthesis and cell respiration differ because the products of photosynthesis are the reactants needed for cell respiration.